Good day and welcome to this webinar on building secure architectures. My name is Tim Harrison and I am one of the systems architects at SolutionsPT. What we are showing you here is the arc-defined maturity model for the cybersecurity journey that you will either be starting or may have already started in your business. Essentially, every one of us will be in one of these different phases or steps of this process. And the key is to understand the costs versus rewards when addressing each phase. For example, there may be little point in jumping to the highest costs of the program, seen on the right-hand side, if we haven't first done the basics of securing what we have. Throughout this presentation, we will cover some of these steps in quite a holistic view. However, if you are looking for a specific requirement, we would be more than happy for you to get in contact with us. So what is building a secure architecture about? What we see here is in the past, companies would secure their networks by air-gapping them so that there were no connections to the enterprise layer. This would make it impossible for a real-time MES to be connected to the enterprise layer. So this business would rely on manual entry or paper information being sent down to the factory. Similarly, manual or paper information would be received back into the business once jobs were done, which would lead to no awareness of what has happened or even what is happening now. In the structured architecture, it brings in the concept of utilizing a demilitarized zone, DMZ, a gap that bridges a secure connection between the control system and MES layer and the enterprise layer. This allows for the possibility of a real-time connected enterprise that has information from the factory that can be used in context with business data, for example. When we look to the future, this brings the opportunity of having everything connected, but also risk. But if we understand these risks, we can utilize technology, people, and processes to reap the benefits whilst mitigating the risk. This concept is more IoT-driven, enabling connected assets, perhaps in a semi-unstructured way. We could be looking at a digitally connected supply chain involving suppliers, vendors, right through to customers and other stakeholders. Imagine if you could have a truly connected enterprise that could be connected in real time to the entire supply chain, allowing for maximum uptime, availability, and flexibility. Planning deliveries with the real-time information of requirements, providing accurate delivery, logistics depending upon production schedules. Here, we can truly leverage cloud and hybrid models. So here's a brief agenda of the areas of the OT cybersecurity strategy we'll be covering today. We'll start with the industrial network. So here, I'd like to start off our discussion around network security with a quote of the findings from one of our network consultants who performs these network audits. The main things to highlight from this is he found that there was no segregation, no security, a flat single network, and had direct internet access. Clearly, there are security vulnerabilities that need to be addressed, and we work with our customers as part of our staged approach to security. The current state of some of our control networks could leave us in danger of intrusion or incident. This may ultimately lead to loss of control, loss of availability, and potentially safety risks. For network design and security, I'd like to highlight these three key points. Consider network design principles, where one can refer to ISO standards or specific guidance from the likes of NIST or NERC as some examples. Then, consider the perimeter, for example, outside connections into the control system, and deny traffic by default rather than specify what to deny. Then, move on to the internal segregation of your network estate. Consider only opening the ports for those applications and for communications that must exist between the zone. Our user guides provide information on which ports are used by the software application. Also, many of our latest software offerings allow you to specify individual ports yourself for added security. is a basic, simplified network design for the zones we are talking about. Based off ICS Cert, NIST, and ISO standards, we have utilized the Purdue model for zone segregation and firewall security. This is our current example of a structured architecture. Depending upon your specific system and requirements, you would most likely need to make adjustments to this. The key, however, is understanding what you currently have, and then look at what the simple, low-cost steps are to start moving towards a structured, secure architecture. Control system networks are different to the typical IT networks in that there is usually considerably more network traffic, but its traffic is more predictable. Intrusion detection is used to monitor and then alarm on out-of-the-norm conditions. These systems essentially watch for the unexpected in a passive way so as not to disrupt the network traffic. It's therefore key to understand that intrusion prevention systems are different. They do have the potential to disrupt and prevent network traffic, and therefore can stop a production process, which is why many are fearful of implementing prevention systems onto a control system. Current IT detection and prevention products are effective in detecting and preventing well-known internet attacks, but until recently, they have not addressed control system protocol attacks. Intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems vendors are beginning now to develop and incorporate attack signatures, industrial control system protocol, plus DNP and ICCP. Our offerings in this space is that we would conduct network audits, network remedial actions. We offer network devices, firewall, routers, switches, etc. that are both from Cisco and Belden, intrusion detection systems for network monitoring, and of course outsourcing or partnership for wiring and big works. We will now look at accessing the control system. The following diagram illustrates how a secure gateway, which is located in a demilitarized zone, uses a single port for secure remote access to in-touch applications. All web traffic from an external business network is tunneled through a secure socket layer-based secure gateway connection. An authentication server is installed on the same computer as the secure gateway. This authentication server authenticates in-touch access anywhere users before granting them access to the in-touch application. If we now look at historian reporting, let's start by looking at this fundamental rule, that a conversation has to be initiated in the OT layer. Processed data will generally push data to the DMZ and make that data available to the authorized users. Access for the enterprise user is generally to pull the data from the DMZ servers. Data is then available to business, reporting, and mobile users, allowing for the processed data to be used in context with wider business reporting, such as data analytics. In this diagram, Tier 1 historians are replicating their data to a Tier 2 historian located in the DMZ, and is a very good approach when your facility has a firewall and you want users on both sides of the firewall to have access to the same data. Let's now look at leveraging a cloud-based historian. I'd like to encourage you to visit www.trust.wonderware.com as to why you can trust the cloud-based historian solution from Wonderware Online. In this image, multiple sites are centralizing their processed data onto the Wonderware cloud-based historian. It does this by utilizing a single secure outbound connection, such as port 443. So in this case, no inbound traffic is allowed. And this connection can be further secured by utilizing whitelist DNS endpoints. One could also utilize a proxy server within the DMZ for an outbound connection. All data is encrypted, both in motion and at rest. There is also now an EU data center for our UK and Ireland customers. One other point to mention, when referring to the IEC 62243 and NIST standards, outbound cloud solutions aren't explicitly mentioned, and this is because cloud solutions hadn't been adopted in any great way during the time that these standards were generated. Another example of leveraging a cloud solution can be seen with other variants of IoT. So not necessarily linking in SCADA and MES through the DMZ to the cloud, but linking PLCs, devices, web services, for example, through the DMZ, direct to the cloud. So not utilizing local controls. We see this through a good number of customers where data analysis is paramount, but security measures should still be adhered to and structure the connections through a DMZ. We have certain customers that are leveraging this technology due to their rapid acquisition approach. So they gain access to this new system, implement secure outbound data connections, and link the data into Wonderware Online. This provides them with information direct from their newly acquired sites without the time delay of a project to implement SCADA and historians locally. This is something we could do before without the speed and efficiency. This is something we couldn't do before without the speed and efficiency of this IoT-driven solution. When talking about patch management, control systems of the past have gotten away with not patching their OS or application. This is down to a lack of IT influence, rightly or wrongly, along with the isolated nature of the system, as viruses were less likely. There was also the topic of whether the control system would be able to take the patch and the worry that it would cause adverse effects. We have all heard of the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. For this reason, patch management was therefore near non-existent. Today, standards and general advice recommend patch management is performed to the control system due to the inherent threat of vulnerabilities. However, we see the implementation of patch management to control systems as non-existent at worst and inconsistent at best. This is, of course, a general sweeping statement when looking at most current control systems. Moving on, we see the future as a collaborative approach between OT and IT. We recommend that OT take a proactive role in taking responsibility for patch management for the control system. Otherwise, they run the risk of IT being dominant and not considering the OT implications of a forced patch on all servers during a batch production, for example. OT should look to communicate their requirements and recommendations while considering the requirement from IT to be patched and secure as soon as possible. Wonderware and Microsoft themselves see that patch management is an ever-evolving beast and that it can be a pain point for the management of control systems to be secure. They are working in partnership to evolve their practices to make it easier in the future. Our offerings in this space are products such as InTouch and SciTech Access Anywhere, Tier 2 Wonderware Historians. There are a number of reporting options such as Dream Reports, Intelligence, Insight. We have Insight Online, Patch Management Consultancy, Antivirus, and Sensor Prognosis. Now on to incident management and disaster recovery. One of the first points we see here is to have an effective incident management created through the use of policies and procedures. The biggest issue we find is also how do we test disaster recovery? Simply because we are mostly scared to do it, especially if the test goes wrong because we won't be able to produce anything tomorrow. The challenge in this space is to test your disaster recovery and get a confirmation that your backup has been successful and that it will work when you need to restore it. Here at SolutionsPT, we provide a business continuity solution in the form of our managed platform Proteus servers. The service utilizes a hybrid deployment for on- and off-site storage of the backups, which consists of a Proteus vault for on-site backups and a UK data center for off-site backups. The Proteus Vault acts as a restore hub for everything from files to applications and system failover. It acts as a staging environment for off-site transfer. The data is encrypted to AES 256 standards, both at rest and in transit. For server failures, the system can be virtualized within seconds on the Proteus Vault. The business can operate business as usual until it has time to fix the server issue. Once we establish the critical servers at a facility, we can establish the resource allocation for the appliance to ensure we can provide local virtualization for these critical servers. Should the local device be compromised for any reason, the data that was transferred to the cloud can act as a replica site for the business. The added value is with ransomware detection technology, where backups are analyzed for ransomware. If detected, the centralized team would then notify the system integrator and/or user to make you aware of the potential infection. This would enable remedial action to take place sooner than later. With backup verification, the backups will be verified to ensure that they can boot into Windows. This provides proof that the backup is usable for recovery, an essential step in disaster recovery. Our offerings in this space is we can provide consultancy services and advice. We have a managed platform in the form of Proteus. We provide support and cybersecurity specific consultancy. Let's look at virtualization. In the past, and still today, individual physical machines are still used to run OT software. The challenge with this is that each machine has to be maintained and patched. Upgrading legacy operating systems can be a nightmare when considering legacy drivers. Individual images may be taken, but can only be restored onto the same spec hardware as the original machine. Moving forward from here, centralized control is a key element to enable the scalability and flexibility required for a SCADA solution. Centralizing your software packages reduces the surface attack area and the devices you need to protect, and provides a central management of your servers. In addition, you can reduce the number of physical assets to manage and secure, and allows for easier incident and recovery plans. This approach also provides the scalability from line to site to enterprise, going from a single physical host to a clustered storage area network. For the future, what we're trying to portray is that we're not telling everyone to move everything to the cloud, but rather keep their control systems local, and then, when they feel there is a benefit in leveraging cloud-based offerings, to move them to the cloud solution, such as the Wonderware Online Historian. In summary, we're not saying virtualization is inherently secure, but what we are conveying is that by leveraging this technology, it allows you to reduce your efforts and manage and secure your architectures more effectively. Here, in this simplified architecture, we have 3 physical servers running various software, as well as having thick clients providing the visualization. On the right, these servers have been virtualized and running on a Strata server, providing an uptime of 99.999%, with the virtualization being via thin clients and mobile devices. There is now only one physical server that needs to be managed, and what's more, is performing a recovery of any of the virtual machines has been greatly simplified. The advantages of centralized servers and leveraging RDS technology enables us to use thin clients that require a zero config install and provides you with the additional security features, such as locking down the USB ports, as well as there is no company data stored on the thin clients in the event of it were to be taken off-site. Integration with Active Directory allows for a centralized user authentication and group policy to be utilized by other software such as Thin Manager, Wonderware, and Cytec. Location-based authentication also enables the right content to be visualized at the right location by the right user. In summary, centralization, virtualization, and integration with Active Directory means high availability, lower maintenance, easier recovery plans, and easier asset management, making it easier to secure. Our offerings in this space, simple server virtualization using Advantech servers, VMware, Hyper-V, fault-tolerant virtualization using Stratus servers, centralized RDS through Thin Manager, Thin Client and other hardware, and consultancy services. In summary, one could continue to stay with an isolated architecture as a means of addressing some of the security fears that we know exist out there today, or continue down the road and prepare with a structured architecture with a vision of moving towards the future of everything connected safely and securely. That brings us to the end of this webinar session. If you'd like to find out more on this topic, then please attend our staged approach to the OT Cybersecurity being held on the 15th of March in Cork and on the 20th of March in Cumberland. You can find out how to register at www.wonderware.co.uk and www.wonderware.ie. Thank you very much.